Hamstring injuries are one of the most common muscular presentations across athletic populations. Reoccurrence can occur from anywhere from 16 to a whopping 60%. Hey, it's Jack Crucial. I help athletes get out of pain and return to elite performance. If you're new to this channel and you want to learn about the elite strategies of how to get out of pain and injury back to elite performance, then click subscribe. In this video, you will learn the exact principles that I use for elite hamstring development and building hamstrings that will never fail you. This is an area where I've consulted with some of the best sports doctors, injury rehab experts, as well as strength and conditioning coaches. And I want to teach you everything I know. I've had a lot of hamstring injury referrals sent to me over my career, and a lot of it could have been avoided if they just had a superior plan, which is exactly what I'm going to teach you today. Now first, to solve the problem of hamstring injuries in sports, we have to understand what the hamstrings actually are. And the hamstrings are comprised of three distinct muscle groups. We have the semitendinosus, we have the semimembranosus, and the biceps femoris. This is the most commonly injured portion of the hamstring. We also have the adductors or groin muscles on the inside, which also have complementary functions to the hamstrings. Fancy terminology aside, the main function of the hamstrings is firstly to bend the knee, and secondly, it extends the hip. Functionally, it helps with deceleration when we are sprinting and when we're cutting and changing direction on the field. So let's cover the four pillars of elite hamstrings. Maximal strength outputs. So what's the point of getting stronger? The bigger the base of our strength and strength outputs, the better we can transfer this strength into sport-specific demands and building that elite athleticism. And there is no better way to build maximal strength outputs than using something such as a compound exercise. We're talking about hamstrings, a great way to emphasize hamstring development and build that maximal strength through the hamstrings is something like a barbell Romanian deadlift. This is one of the best bang for your buck gym exercises because not only are we emphasizing the hamstrings, your forearms are being placed under heavy loads and you require good core stability. You should be getting to the point where your hamstrings are so strong that you need wrist wraps in order to complete this exercise. Unstick your eyes away from the screen quickly and just look at the difference between the size of your forearms and the muscles of your forearms and compare those to the size of your legs. These are much bigger muscle groups, and a lot of limitations I see people making when training the Romanian deadlift is they're not actually loading heavy enough. Their grip fails before their hamstrings do. Building a very solid hinging pattern allows you to transfer this force into your sport. Whether this is mixed martial arts, whether this is field sport, the same rules apply. How many reps do you need to train this maximal strength output stimulus? 1 to 6 repetitions tends to be the sweet spot that we're wanting to work in. Pillar 2 is isometrics. Now, why do we need them? The best benefit of utilizing isometrics is we can use this day 2 or 3 after a brand new hamstring injury. It is very easy to control the loads because we're hitting the same position all the way through. We can bias certain joint angles and certain joint positions, even weaker positions that we tend not to utilize much, and we can bias these and get stronger in our weaker points. When you're moving athletically, you need to be strong through the entire active range that you have available to you. And utilizing isometrics allows us to grade this in a safe manner. Here are 2 examples of exercises that you can integrate today. First, if we look at the foam roller hamstring bridge, the benefit of this is utilizing a foam roller, which is an unstable surface, allows further challenge to the hamstrings. Not only this, but if we work in a specific joint angle, we can fire our calves, hamstrings, and glutes simultaneously. This is a very important feature so that our hamstrings aren't under all of the stress. We're dispersing this across multiple muscle groups. Plus, if we use 3 muscles instead of 1 and emphasize this, we're going to get a far greater output in performance. The second is a single leg hamstring isometric, and we complete this on a lumbar extension machine. What we're doing here is loading the hamstrings up in a hip flexed position at its longest length. So we tend to be very, very weak at our longer lengths, and this allows us to isolate this and hold this position, and we can obviously add a plate, as you can see in this demonstration here, to further emphasize and make this exercise harder. Pillar 3 is velocity-based eccentrics. A commonly overlooked component of training is the fact that everybody looks at reps, sets, and the weight that we use, but not a lot of people actually change the variable of speed. And if we're wanting to perform fast activities such as sprinting and other qualities such as this, then we need to gradually build that stimulus in a controlled environment. And what better way to do this than using this in a gym context? A great example of this is a single leg or double leg hamstring catch. In order to complete this exercise, simply set up with a lumbar extension machine, and you're going to hold a plate, and then what you're going to do is drop the plate slightly and then catch it before it touches the ground. In order to do this effectively, the hamstrings need to be able to relax and contract rapidly. And this is a very similar movement quality to what we're doing with sprinting. Yes, it won't mimic sprinting one-to-one, but it's building the same qualities. So if you haven't done any sprint work, or if you're in the process of building your hamstring strength after an injury, this is a great way to bridge that gap between gym-based loads as well as field-based, sprint-based loads. And pillar number 4 is field-based demands. Are you truly athletic if you can do everything in the gym, you're super strong, but as soon as you build into a sprint, you get instantly injured? In my opinion, you are not robust in these contexts. But also, depending on your sport, you don't just run in a straight line, do you? You both have curved moments and change of direction moments when you are training. So we need to integrate this, especially in the early stages after a hamstring injury, so that we haven't just done straight line work. We're working curved running as well as multi-directional running in order to build those qualities through the hamstrings and through the entire lower body as a whole. There are 2 distinct training parameters that you need to integrate when it comes to sprint speed. Number 1 is acceleration work, and number 2 is maximal velocity work. At field sports in general and their greatest risk profile, it tends to be once the athlete has reached peak velocity, so maximal speed, as well as when they are decelerating. So as a result, we need to mimic these qualities within a training context so that when we get out and compete, we have the robustness and ability to do these things. There is no single exercise that you can do in the gym that will mimic the speed of contractions that you are completing when you are sprinting. The best way to integrate this stuff is to simply sprint, but it needs to be done intelligently. If you can closely reverse engineer the demands of your sport in a training context, then you can drastically reduce your chances of injury. So in summary, if you want hamstrings that allow you to sprint faster, swerve around your opponents, make you more explosive, remember the 4 pillars that we discussed in this video. Number 1 was maximal strength outputs. Number 2 was using isometric positioning. Number 3 was velocity-based eccentrics, so speeding up the exercise. And number 4 is acceleration and maximal velocity outputs. You won't find this level of information for free anywhere else. And trust me when I say you can develop elite hamstrings if you simply follow these steps. Try one of these techniques today and let me know how it went in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to this channel to continue to learn how to get out of pain and injury and return to elite performance. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.